All right, Ron Hall, thank you so much for doing this. I'm a big
Thank you,
fan.
Jeff. Thank you
Okay,
very much.
and I'm such a fan. I got like there are so many movies, so many actors that you have worked with that I am excited to bring up. I did want to bring up something that you brought up in another interview that when you started martial arts, you weren't very good at first.
No, I was actually pretty poor at martial arts. All my friends, we all took martial arts at the same time, and I was the worst. I had no speed, no skill, no dexterity, no strength, nothing. Just, uncoordinated. And they had a name for me. They used to call me Super Sorry.
Oh, and I kind of love that because I think when most people get in the martial arts or really anything, they're not very good at first.
Mhm.
And it's super discouraging when you like start out and you see people like are just much better, but you kind of don't realize that some of those people have been doing it for years, you know? So when you
Right.
like some people start out, they're just not very good. But
Mhm.
if you work at it, you get better, you know?
Well, yeah, I believe that's one of the true strengths of martial arts is martial arts teaches you about personal development, how you can go from here to here and really only have to worry about competing with yourself. Not, I wasn't a big sports guy when I was a kid. I'm still not. And I always, had to overcome, like, focus on the things I had to overcome. So martial arts, I think, is really an excellent cultural tool to help you in kind of like personal development in all aspects of your life. I've used martial arts to help me in business, help me in education, to help me do all types of things. I've taken the techniques and approaches that I've learned in martial arts and just apply them to many areas of life. So, yeah.
Um, and I think that's pretty cool. And I got to start getting into some of your movies, man, because you've
Yes,
got a
sir.
lot, and I'm such a fan. And the first one I want to bring up is Pocket Ninjas.
Pocket ditches.
What can you tell me about Pocket Ninjas?
You know what's kind of odd? I don't even, I know I did Pocket Ninjas, but I barely remember it. I want to say it was right before I was getting ready to go do a Sinbad movie with Richard Grieco. I know Bobby and David Huey had called me to do it. And then Bobby Dazar, who we had already worked together and did Double Blast, had called me about working on it. So, Bobby was like my big brother. We had just such a ball in the Philippines doing Buck Double Blast that we just kept in contact. So it was great to work with him again on Pocket Ninjas. But I don't really remember too much about that movie. I just know, I did some goofy fighting and they sped it up and I'm fighting Bobby and I'm doing kind of like some snake fist fighting. So it was pretty cool.
Oh man, that's so cool. And you brought up Zadar, man. What can you tell me about Zadar?
Oh,
Um,
Bobby was a sweetheart, man. I loved Bobby Dazar. He was just like, me and him clicked the first day we met because what had happened was I had gotten to the Philippines and somebody was knocking on my door and it was him. And he's like, "You're Ron Hall?" I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "Man, I got these people, man. They want to interview me tonight. Do you want to come?" I said, "Man, I just got off this 15-hour flight. I'm a little tired." He said, "Oh man, come on." I was like, "No, I'm okay." So he went and did the interview, and the people ended up robbing him. They took his passport, and I don't know how much money they got from him, but he was very discouraged after that, and he called me up later that evening and said, "Man, those people robbed me, and blah blah blah, and I got to go to the embassy to get another passport." But Bobby was a sweetheart, man. He was a sweetheart. I can remember Joe Estevez had also worked on that movie Double Blast. And Joe Estevez, Bobby told us he used to work in a graveyard, that he used to work as a maintenance guy in a cemetery. And Joe Estevez just made the funniest joke about like somebody coming to the cemetery in the evening and see him with that big jaw sweeping at the cemetery. We just died laughing. But Bobby was a sweetheart, man. I really miss him. And yeah.
oh man, and another person that was in the movie was Mel, from
Oh yeah.
Vampire Assassin.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Um,
me and Mel have a long history. We worked together on SWAT Warhead 1. We worked together on Expert Weapon with Ian Jacklin. He was in Vampire Assassin. He's in my documentary. Me and Mel, we just had a great, wonderful relationship and all throughout. And, I saw Mel not too long before he passed. I was able to interview him for a documentary I'm putting together. And, Mel was just a great talent all around. I can remember seeing him in Game of Death when I very first saw him, like Stick. He made such an impression, like in that movie. And then to discover him in Black Belt Jones and other movies and getting to know him as a personal friend. Me, him, and Leo Fong, we had actually attempted to do another movie called Vigilante Priest. Basically, Mel was going to be kind of like a Catholic Dirty Harry, and Leo Fong was going to be like Zatoichi, Buddhist monk Zatoichi, and we filmed a little bit of it, but we never, completed it. But Mel, we just had a wonderful relationship, and I will miss Mel Novak.
oh man, oh man. Well, tell me about this documentary you brought up. Can you tell
Sure.
me anything about it?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been working on it for a few years. It's called Fight Scene Fanatics, and I've interviewed a lot of people. Jeff Speakman, Mel Novak. I mean, dozens of martial artists, and also people whose lives have been influenced by watching martial art movies. So it's about the relationship between people who make martial art films and the people who are influenced by those films and how that influence manifest in their life. You have people that, are Bruce Lee collectors, martial art collectors, have invented things. And, it's really a fascinating relationship between the fans of martial arts and the films that are made. And, yeah, and I will, I have a few more people I'd like to interview, but I will get it out to you probably within the year. It should be coming out.
Oh man, that sounds right up my alley, man.
All right.
Yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
look forward to seeing that, man.
I
Um,
might have to interview you for it.
oh man, right on.
All right. All right.
And another person that was in Pocket Ninjas that you've starred well, you were in lots of movies with Gary Daniels.
Gary Daniels, yes, me and Gary were like brothers. Me and Gary, Gary started a little bit before I did, but early in my career, we had developed a good friendship. And David Huey was also somebody who we all three were kind of connected. And Gary's gone on to have a wonderful career. And me and Gary, we worked together on Full Impact. And yeah, we worked together on Full Impact. And I haven't seen Gary in quite a while, but me and Gary, we had a good brotherhood going up. When you're coming up, you meet all kinds of people who are trying to go up. And Gary was one of those guys who was like my brother at the very beginning of my career.
All right, on. That's so cool. Gary Daniels, man. Um, he's great. Like, yeah, I'm a big Gary Daniels fan.
Yeah, all
Um,
right.
and also Triple Impact, man. What can you tell me about Triple Impact?
Well, Triple Impact is my overall favorite film. It's the first movie that I did as a co-lead. And, I just thought there were many things about it that, it was the first time I went overseas, and, I got to work with Dale Apollo Cook, and Dale was just nothing but fun from the very start. We hit it off right away. It had pretty much the relationship you see on screen is kind of how me and Dale interacted in real life. And Bridget, that was her Bridget Riley, Baby Doll Riley. That was her first film, and she was, I did not expect her to be that good. I had heard she was good. I had never seen her, but man, when she started to work, I was like, wow. It was like she's like, no, not good, but she's like high level great. So that was pretty impressive. And I met some wonderful people in Triple Impact, and I like it because I like those type of treasure hunter, Indiana Joneses, traveling jungle type movies. So Triple Impact is right up my alley. And and then some of the action, some of the action in the movie I really love. That first fight scene where I'm fighting that guy. Some of the stuntmen who had actually worked on Fist of Fury with Bruce Lee were there, and they were like, "Oh man, you're kind of like Bruce Lee, you're fast and blah blah blah." And it was a very the whole movie was just a wonderful experience. So Triple Impact is ranks very high in my filmography about how I feel about
Oh, I love that one like movie you do where you put your legs on the guy's neck.
it. Yeah,
You like roll up, put your legs on the
sure.
guy's neck. Oh man,
Yeah,
that's just so cool.
you know what? And that was inspired from the fight scene in the locker room from Game of Death. If you remember when there was a scene where Bobby Lowe was fighting Bob Wall, and he did something similar because you never really create nothing new. You can just really do your own interpretations of things you collect, and do them through your perspective. So that was kind of like what that was. And that scene is actually a very funny scene, but a interesting part about that scene was as we were filming it, there were some real like mercenary bandit people who held us kind of hostage while we were making it. Like we're all, we have the crew and everybody there. We're doing this scene that we're getting kidnapped by these bandits, and all of a sudden, other people started coming from nowhere. They just had horses and guns, and we're looking around, and we're like, "What the hell is going on?" And basically, I think Mr. Hung, who was the producer, he probably paid them a little bit of money to, keep us cool, keep everything cool. But that was a pretty interesting part of that scene. And yeah, Triple Impact is just, the in fight scene. I love the in fight scene. That was just a lot of fun. And like I said, Triple Impact was just a great experience all the way around.
All right, and it's on Tubi right now. It's streaming on Tubi.
Yeah.
Um,
Triple Impact was one of those movies that, I have a few movies that people talk about a lot, Vampire Assassin, Bloodsport 2, and Triple Impact is another one that fans write to me and they tell me they really like it, and, they love it, so that's one of the movies that, has stuck with me for a while.
oh man, and Bloodsport too, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, what can you tell me about Bloodsport too?
Okay, well, Bloodsport 2 how Bloodsport 2 started for me was that I actually had a multi-picture contract with Mark Nassau. Mark Nassau was the producer that made Bloodsport, and he made The Perfect Weapon. So there was, Van Damme was like the first guy that he launched. Jeff Speakman was the second guy. I was the third guy, and Daniel Bernhardt was after me. So I had signed a multi-picture deal with Mark. He was at Paramount then, and we were going to do a movie called Home Turf. And that took a while. That actually took a while, and then a lot of movie making politics went on. And the next thing I know, I had to go live in Florida because the production had changed hands, and a studio in Florida was going to make Home Turf. So I went down to Florida to live for about 6 months, and we still never made the movie. We never made the movie because at that time, that studio, I think they were changing heads, and the new person didn't want to do Home Turf. So all that was going on during that time. But then Mark DeSalle called me in one day, and he was like, "Excuse me for one second."
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, give me one second. Sorry about that. Okay.
Oh, you cool?
Okay, here we go. Yeah,
Okay.
so Mark Desai had called me one day and he said, "Hey, Ron, we're not going to do Home Turf." He said, "We're going to do a sequel to Bloodsport." I was like, "Oh, really?" He was like, "Yeah." He said, "And we're going to do it kind of like Lethal Weapon, like you and Daniel Bernhardt. We have another guy, And so they told me about Daniel, and and me and Daniel met. I think I met Daniel at Heel Cho's school, and we met and we became close, and we started doing that movie. But as one of these things has happened many times in my career, is the movie changed hands. So I was actually written as a co-lead with Daniel first, but then as the movie changed hands, then the role kind of got reduced, and then I ended up having to go audition for the role that I actually did, and Isaac Florentine was the director at that point. And he said he liked me, but he thought I was too short to fight Daniel. He was like, we need some big guys, some strong guys, blah, blah, blah. You're a little bit too short to fight Daniel Bernhardt. And I think the fight that me and Daniel did, holds its own. So, but Michael Jai White ended up getting that role. So Michael Jai White ended up doing it. But then what happened for Michael Jai White was Michael Jai White went to go do the Mike Tyson movie, and they had already started filming Bloodsport 2. So they called me at the last minute. It was like they were already filming. They called me at the last minute and, hey, Ron, we need you yesterday on a plane. Can you go do Bloodsport 2? And I didn't want to do it at first because of all the things that was going on, but my girlfriend at the time kind of encouraged me to do it. So I went to go do it. And what was interesting about Bloodsport 2 is when I very first got there was a stunt group called the Sing Stunt Group. He's a very popular stunt coordinator in Thailand, and they do films all around the world. They would be the equivalent of 8711 here. With Chad Stahelski, it would be similar to what Sing is in Thailand. Well, I saw when I very first got to the set, I saw the beginnings of the Tony Jaa type style. Is that I saw them doing very impactful stunts with acrobatic stuff. And when I saw that, I was like, whoa, like, okay, I need to like step up my game with this movie a little bit. So they inspired me to, some of the stuff I did in Bloodsport 2. I was inspired when I saw them. When I saw them, I was like, okay, I need to up my game in this movie. So, and me and Sing, we're still friends today. We talk today, and and that was a great experience.
Oh, man. Did you have any interactions with Pat Morita or
Oh,
Donald
sure.
Gibb?
Oh yeah, yeah. Pat was me and Pat and his wife. We'd go out and eat and have like garlic shrimp and everybody there. We all, we were there. I'm gonna say we might have been there for 2 months. I'm not sure, but it was about that much time, and everybody knew each other. Like by the time we left, we all knew each other, and and spent a lot of time together, and so yeah, I got to know Pat very well. He told me, a lot of stuff about Red Fox, and he was very cool. James Hong. James Hong was somebody else that, me and James used to go shopping and eating. And yeah, so it was that was a great experience. Yeah.
Oh man, that's so cool because I love Pat. Pat is he's like a really underrated comedian.
Hmm.
Like his stand up is just it's hilarious.
You know what? Here's an interesting thing about Bloodsport 2. There's a picture. You know what? I was going to post it. I actually have it. Let me grab it for a second. Uh, can you see this picture?
Oh man.
Okay,
That's
so this is us at Bloodsport 2. This is Philip Tan and his son, and this is Neil Stewart and his son. So both of these young men are now movie stars, meaning Philip Tan's son is Louis Tan, the star of the Mortal Kombat movies, and then Neil's son, who is Boo Boo Stewart, is actually he was in Twilight, he was one of the X-Men, in Days of Future Past. So their sons have grown up to be movie stars. So that's pretty interesting.
oh, that's so cool. It's like two generations, man.
Yeah, yeah, yep,
That's awesome. That's so cool.
yeah, that's very cool.
And what about Donald Gibb, man? Did you hang
Oh
out
yeah,
with him?
yeah, Donnie. You know what I've learned like working in movies? All the big, massive, tough guys, they're wonderful. I've never met a giant guy that I've worked with in a movie or worked like, just, met them through movie making, networking, that wasn't wonderful. They're all, I guess because they're very secure, in who they are, they're big guys, so they don't need to be tough. And they're all just wonderful people, nice to be around, friendly. And Don was another guy who I kept in contact for years. After Bloodsport 2, we were like, hey, we're going to work together on this. And, let's try to work together on this. So Don was another person that, I had a wonderful relationship with. Yeah.
Oh man, that's so cool. Cause I met Don. I met him at a convention, and he was like his character. I mean, I don't know if he put it on kind of for like the convention, but he was like his character Jackson from Bloodsport. He had Coors Banquet at his table. He was like at tobacco, like he was the character, you know?
That's who Don is. Don is that guy, and he's wonderful, and he's great. Anytime, Don's one of those guys. You put him in your movie, he elevates your movie. So he, and I'm sure he's still working and doing what Don does. So he was great. Yeah. And
Oh man.
Bloodsport 2 actually was a pivotal movie. A lot of people that came out of that movie, like Chad Stahelski, who does Chad does the John Wick movies, and like I talked about the 8-7-11 stuff. You had who else was in Bloodsport 2? I'm trying to think. There's somebody else in Bloodsport 2 that actually went on to do something big. I'm old, so I can't think right now, but there's somebody else too in Bloodsport 2 that went on to do something pretty substantial. But yeah, I know Jeff Wolf. Jeff Wolf is now a director. So, and I think Jeff got like an Oscar or Emmy or something doing action directing or something like that. So Jeff, he was in Bloodsport too, and there's somebody else I'm thinking of that I can't think of right this moment. But yeah,
All right. And Deadly Bat, man.
Deadly Bet. Deadly Bet was my very first movie. That Eric Lee, when I very first got to Los Angeles, Grandmaster Eric Lee, the King of Kata, I was contacting him, and I kept bugging him, and he was very nice. He said, "Hey, I'm doing this movie, come on down, and we'll use you as an extra, or whatever." And then, when I was there, he was like, "Hey, we need a couple of extra guys. Ron, you do martial arts, don't you? Do some stuff." And then when I did some stuff, he ran over to Art Camacho, and him and Art Camacho kind of, conferred, and then they came back and said, "Hey, we got a part for you as a fighter." So, so I did that part where I'm fighting the guy in the ring, and and that was like the first time I'm trying to work out acrobatic stuff. It's like I can remember I did like a dive roll, and then I tried to come up and fight, but the way they cut it, it just looked like I dived for no reason at all. So, Deadly Bed was, and Jeff Wincott, was a cool guy. Charlene Tilton, she was wonderful. So yeah, Deadly Bed was a cool experience.
Oh, cause I was gonna bring him up because I've had him on before. Art
Who's that?
Art
Oh,
Camacho.
Camacho. Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like and he worked on that. Like
Oh yeah, Art. Art's a very prolific director. He's worked with tons of people, Steven Seagal, and all kinds of people, and he's still directing. His career's going strong right now. He's still directing. So yeah, so Art was the fight choreographer on Deadly Bet.
all right on. And I was also I also one thing I really dig that you do is your cartwheel kick. You got an excellent cartwheel kick. It's so cool. Where you
Sure.
yeah,
You know what it is?
what?
Well, when I inject acrobats into an action, I wanted to appear as a weapon. I'm just not moving just so it can be flashy. I want you to go, can he really do that, or did he really do that? What's interesting now, like when I go on Instagram, I see generations of guys kind of doing stuff I was doing like 30 years ago, kind of like a new evolution of it, like the 540 kick that people do, or there's one kick that I never saw for years. It's the kick in Bloodsport 2, if you recall. I was fighting Daniel Bernhardt's brother, and at the end of it, I call it my whirlwind kick, where I do kind of like two crescent kicks with a spinning kick. And I've never seen anybody do that until recently. On Instagram, it's like tons of guys they're doing it now. So, just to use acrobats in movies. A lot of people use it, and they do. I'll give an example. Like there are many examples of guys on Instagram that can do stuff I never even conceived. Just their physical capability is just way, way up there. However, it's also the context of the move. How do you use the move within action to tell the story and keep the dramatic context of the story flowing? And a lot of times I see guys will do some acrobatic stuff, and it just doesn't have the oomph that it needs. Excuse me. It just doesn't have, excuse me, sorry about that. I'm
You cool?
my okay. Okay. Yeah, it just it yeah, it just doesn't have the resonance I think it needs to have, because when you're using acrobatics in film, you're in a fight scene. So you're either in a fight scene using it to attack, or you're using it to evade an attack or evade an obstacle or your environment. You're not just doing the move to show you can do the move. So I'm always aware that anytime I do something of an acrobatic nature, I want it to have some impact and I want it to be fierce. I wanted to have some energy into it. And I want it to look like I am fighting even as I'm doing something that's improbable in a fight. I want the appearance of that I'm fighting. So that's one thing that I would say the guys of this generation, I think they could do a better job of making some of the acrobat things they do more purposeful in the action that they do it.
Oh man, that's so. I mean, that's pretty cool, man. I think you're right, man. I definitely agree with you. Um, and also, I want to bring up Raw Target.
All right.
What
Raw
can you?
target.
What,
Go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say, what can you tell me about Raw Target? I mean, another movie that you did with Dale.
Sure. You know, at that time, when I was doing those movies with Dale, I actually had on the table, I was actually signed with Mark DeSalle and I was waiting to do another movie. So I was actually like, those movies, it was kind of like I was looking forward to the other stuff I was doing. When I look back, I wish I would have made 6 or 7 movies with Dale. We had that kind of chemistry that we could have done a lot of different things, kind of like two-man deadly venoms or something. I'm the good guy one, he's the good guy, another one, the bad guy. We could have switched it up because I think me and Dale, really, when I look back at those movies, we just had a nice chemistry. We just had a nice chemistry. And Raw Target was a little bit more serious movie. And, the action in it, there's some really good action in it. There's something I posted recently where I did what you call it like a cartwheel kick, kind of like an aerial cartwheel and kick Neil Stewart, who's in that picture, who that was the first time I worked with Neil's before we did Bloodsport 2. And the movie was fun. There's a funny story that one night there's a scene in the movie where me and Dale are fighting in the nightclub and we jump off into a truck. Well, that very night, as we're shooting that scene, we're standing by like this dock, and this dead body floats up in the water. It's like a dead body. It's got stuff wrapped around its neck and stuff. So it floats up like as we're there, just hanging out. So that was pretty interesting.
Oh man, that's crazy. Where did you film that at?
Oh, we filmed that in the Philippines.
Oh, okay, all right,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And you know what? Let me not forget Nick Hill. Nick Hill, another guy from Bloodsport 2 that I worked with before I went to Bloodsport 2. Nick was another guy that we just got really close. Nick was great. Nick was just his personality was just on all the time. And he was just great to be around. A lot of fun, very charismatic, could always get the attention of all the women. So he was a great person to work on. And, I haven't seen, I think I saw Nick one time about a decade ago. I think I was driving and he was next to me in the car. We pulled over and just started talking and stuff like that. But yeah, Nick was a great guy. He was great in the movie. Him and Dale, they had a great rivalry in the film that came across really good. So yeah, I enjoyed Raw Target. Yep.
All right. And there's another movie I watched the other day. Is it Rotten Eggs? Where you
Which one?
play Rotten Eggs?
Oh,
Rotten Eggs?
okay, yeah. Well, okay, so that was a movie called Enter the Afro. It was something I did it could be before I even did a movie. No, because I think I had already done maybe Double Blast by the time I did that. But there was a guy named Jesse Kitten. Jesse ended up helping me produce Vampire Assassin, but he was doing a film, called Enter the Afro. It was basically like Wizard of Oz with Kung Fu. And like a couple of people, I think John Crane is in that movie. If you know John Crane, he's like a second year director, stunt coordinator. He was in that movie. So Anthony Chow, who ended up being in Empire Assassin with me, that's where I met Anthony. I met him doing that Into the Afro film for Jesse Kid.
Oh yeah, because that's I it's on Tubi, but it's also on Trauma.
Oh,
The
really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think Trauma is distributing it out a little bit.
Excuse me. Sorry about that. I have to. My battery is dying.
Oh.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, and also I seen you're also credited for The Quest, the Jean-Claude Van Damme
Yeah.
movie. Um, what could you
Yes.
tell me
I'm.
about
I'm
working
in
on
Quest.
that?
Well, that was at the same time that we were doing Bloodsport 2. Excuse me. That was the same time after we Bloodsport 2. They were casting for and this meaning is the court. Okay. Excuse me. Okay. And yeah, and so they were casting for Bloodsport 2. They were casting for the Quest. Now, I had gotten cast for the Quest. However, once they found out I was in Bloodsport 2 as one of the leads, then it changed. It was like, okay, Ron, well, we can have you do some stunts and you'll go as a payday. So, it was cool. I did it. And, got, Van Damme, he was totally cool. A lot of great fighters on that movie. Van Damme stunt doubles. They both guys, they got to be real good friends with me. Todd Senefonte and Alex Kluzik, however you pronounce Alex's last name. Sorry about that, Alex. They were amazing martial artists, both of them. Peter Malota. He had a lot of great Rick Bronsky, Winston Ellis. It was a great cast in the Quest, and it was a fun time. We stayed at a very nice place. And like I said, we would go, me and James Hong, man, we would go and just eat like this, garlic shrimp and all kind of great Thai food they had access to for very little money, and it was a great experience for me. And I got to be a little buddy with Roger Moore. I would see Roger Moore, go out to his place in Malibu, and he was great. Who else? Van Damme's father was there. He was there, so it was a great experience.
Oh man, that's so cool because The Quest is, I mean, that's one of my favorite. I mean, that might one of my favorite Van Damme movies is The Quest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um,
Well, my favorite Van Damme movie is Kickboxer. I think Kickboxer to me, like, I look at Bloodsport as kind of like his real, like, introduction, like a solid introduction to who Van Damme is. But to me, Kickboxer, I think, is the movie that I believe made him a star. It's just, it's like we saw different aspects of his personality. We got to focus on him. He looked at his very best. He was great, his training sequences. Then that I could never forget that first scene when I saw Michael Kizzy as Tong Po. I was like, there's no way in the hell Van Damme's going to beat that guy. And in that movie, I was a believer. So I love Kickboxer. Yeah.
oh, Kickbox is great, man. Um,
Yeah.
also, I was gonna ask about, oh man, um, like what was who do you man, okay, I'm trying to phrase this. Um, who do you what actor do you think you've starred in the most movies with?
That's a good question. It could be Mel Novak. It could
Okay.
be Mel. I think me and Mel might have done like three or four together, but I'm not really sure. But there's some, yeah, Mel. It could be Mel Novak because we did Vampire Assassin. Mel was in he's on Vampire Assassin, Warhead One. It's Mel Novak. It's got to be Mel. Yeah.
Oh man, that's pretty cool. And it's cool that you get to like work with a lot of the other like a lot of people that you've worked with before.
Yeah. Well, when you work in film, it's really a small, tight knit community. It's like, you're pretty much one person away from everybody you need to get to a contact. If you want to, not saying that they would let you contact them, but it's like if you want to get to Stallone, you probably know somebody. If you've worked enough, you know somebody who's one person from Stallone. You want to know Jackie Chan, you probably somebody who's worked with Jackie Chan. So that's kind of how the film industry is that everybody's kind of related and connected. So yeah.
I think James Cameron's a lot like that. When you work with James Cameron, I think he uses a lot of the same people throughout um a lot of his movies.
Yeah, well, that's another aspect is that you want to get people that you like. It's always better to make movies with people who are reliable, can do a good job, who can deliver, and that you like working with. All of those are infinitely better than the choices of somebody you can't stand, you can't depend on, and they won't do the job right. So yeah, that's the way to go is to have people that you like in different movies for you over a period of time. James Gunn is somebody who, if you look at his movies, he has a lot of the same guys, Michael Rooker, guys like that that are working in multiple movies. So that's a good way to go.
Also, Orgazmo, Orgazmo, man.
Orgasm.
What can you tell me about
Yeah.
Orgazmo?
Well, Orgasmo, was a movie that, I think Philip Tan got me on that. And, I can remember one time me and Philip Tan, we went up to Trey, what was it? Matt Stone and Trey Parker's little apartment. They had this little tiny apartment on Laurel Canyon. And they were actually doing they were doing those little Cartman, what's the name of the cartoon they're on? I can't even remember
South
right
Park.
now. What's the name of it?
South.
It's been on
Uh,
forever. South Park. They were
yeah.
doing that. They were actually doing these little cars they were sitting out, they would send out to pitch South Park at that time. They didn't have it, they just were pitching it. And they were totally cool. They were totally cool, a lot of fun, interesting stuff. And yeah, they got to go on and be mega huge successes. So yeah, that was fun working with them at their very beginning.
Oh yeah, because Orgasmo. I remember I asked my mom to rent it, and she actually did, but she didn't want me
Mm,
to watch it, so she like hid it above like our china cabinet. But
yeah.
I mean, I was kind of like a latchkey kid, like you come home, nobody's home, and I noticed that the movie was above the china cabinet for some reason. I was like, oh, that's a weird place to put a movie. Let me grab it and put it in, and I watched it. My mom called me. She was like, "You better not be watching that movie." Are you? Because she watched it and she was like, "There's no way I was gonna let him watch it," but you know.
Yeah, Orgasmo is pretty racy, but that's another movie that people, it's around and people watching it. So yeah, but it was pretty racy.
It was, yeah. Definitely something I shouldn't have been watching.
Mhm.
Um, um, and also, I was gonna ask, about full impact.
Yeah,
What can
that
you
was
tell me?
yeah that sure that was the first movie I did for David Huey. That was a Gary Daniels movie. They actually are releasing it now on Blu-ray, and I think it's called American Street Fighter 2. Because somebody recently was like, "Ron, you in American Street Fighter?" I was like, "I don't remember doing some movie American Street Fighter," but yeah, that was an interesting movie to be in, and like I say, it was a movie. Me and Gary Daniels, we get to fight. He wins because this is his movie. But it was a decent fight, and yeah, yeah, it's pretty fun.
Do you have a favorite fight that you've done in any of your movies?
Favorite fights. Okay, I would say my fight in Triple Impact, where I fight the big guy, where we're caught the fight we were talking about earlier, where I'm fighting that guy, where I come up and do the punches to his face. I really love that fight. That's just a good, just the story of the fight, the elements in it. It's funny. It changes dynamic a time or two. I like that. Like I said, all the fights in Triple Impact I like. I like my fight in Double Blast, where I'm in the white suit and the guy comes in. That's another favorite of mine. Let's see, what else do I like? Bloodsport 2, of course, I like the backflip. That I have to thank that to Philip Tan because I was not interested in doing that at all. When he suggested it, I rolled my eyes. I'm like, okay, man, backflip knocks my out. Like, okay. But no, it was a great idea and I'm glad I did it. And I must say, it's the thing I'm asked about or complimented on the most out of all my movies is that backflip. So yeah, so that was a good, so yeah. So when I'm a fan of martial art movies. So when I'm making a fight, as a metric, I'm taking what I think it will look like, how I'm designing it to look, and how the people watching me actually do it are reacting to it. So a lot of times when I'm fighting the crew, they're screaming and yelling, "Oh man, it's all the crowd's a little," So I use that as a metric how effective the fight will be. And of course, you got shot selection and editing. Once it gets to an editor and somebody, you got all those things. But generally, that's what I use as a metric: is are the people who are actually watching me excited about what I'm doing in front of this camera? So yeah, so those would be some of my favorites.
Oh man, I mean, those are some great ones, man. I think those are probably my favorites too.
Yeah.
Especially when you punch the guy in the face. That's so cool.
Here's another one. Here's another one I think I would like too. The infight of Raw Target. When I'm fighting a stuntman named Manny Sampson. It's I go into the room and I'm fighting a bunch of guys, and then Manny Sampson breaks out his what do you call him? Size, Japanese size, and I have a staff, and me and him fight. That's a fight I really like too. I like that fight.
Man, and Vampire Assassin, man, I love that movie. Me and my friends just we were like huge fans of Vampire Assassin. What can
You
you
know
tell me
what?
about Vampire
I
Assassin?
must say, oh man, Vampire Assassin is just a life experience for me, meaning that, I made that movie 20 years ago, and that movie just has its own life. There are people all the time contacting me about Vampire Assassin. And for the first 10 years, I couldn't even look at it because there were just some things about it. It was like it wasn't kind of what I wanted it to be in a lot of different aspects. But I've come to terms that people love the movie. And one thing that I'm very excited about is in a few months, we're going to release an Ultimate Cut Vampire Assassin Blu-ray that's very close to the movie I wanted to make. And one thing that I'm excited about is the action sequences. Is that like they had 5 other action sequences that were in the movie that are better than all the fights in the movie. So this movie, I've read like a lot of reviews. People say, "Well, Ryan Hall usually does great action, and Vampire Assassin sucks." Well, I think the new cut, the Ultimate Vampire Assassin cut is coming out on Blu-ray. The action is kind of like if you know movie, but like brawl type action, that's what I have, and I'm very excited. When he first showed it to me, it made me cry because I was like, "Wow!" Like you can tell me this is a movie that I made that I've been getting on this TV for 20 years, so I'm very excited for people to see it. And I'm working on taking it around the country and showing people and have kind of like an experience, kind of like a Rocky Horror Show. There's so many things in it that like and laugh about, find funny, and goofy special effects, stuff like that. I'm going to play that up. So I'm actually working on that right now to make that happen, to show Vampire Assassin theatrically around the country.
Oh man, that's great, man. That sounds pretty cool. Um,
Yeah, I think it's going to be cool.
yeah. Who's putting it out? Who's putting the Blu-ray out?
Well, Dave Huey, the executive producer of Vampire, I don't know the exact company that's releasing the Blu-ray because there's a couple of companies involved, but David Huey, the guy who was the original executive producer of it, he showed me a cut and he kept talking about it. I was like, "Ron, man, you got to see this movie." And I was like, "Okay." And I watched it and I was like, "What?" Like here's one of the things about it that cracked me up was I forgot my character had a girlfriend who was a major character in the movie. Like in the release that comes out, there's no woman, no girlfriend, no love. And actually, she's a pretty substantial part of what goes on in Vampire Assassin that when I saw it, I was like, wow, I forgot all about I had a girlfriend. So, and like I say, the action, man, the action is just, man, there's a sequence in there where I'm fighting, Vampire Assassin's like stalking some guys. Oh, it's slick. I just love it. So I'm excited about Vampire Assassin, and I'm also excited that I'm going to do a sequel to Vampire Assassin. I'm excited about that. We're working on that. My original thought was I wanted Mel Novak to be a part of it, but since he's passed, let's redo some AI thing. But, and if I can get Gerald back, he's another person that I would love to have in the sequel. And, yeah, just to go back and get another round, Vampire Assassin going for as long as it's gonna go.
Oh man, I'm excited. I'm so excited to see this, man.
Yeah.
Um, I'm definitely gonna be on the lookout. Oh wow, I'm
Oh,
just like
yeah, you'll know it. Yeah, you'll trust me. You know, I, I'm actually, I mean, if I have enough time before they release the Blu-ray, I'm even thinking about like doing kind of like another scene onto Vampire Assassin that introduces a Vampire Assassin, the sequel. So, that might happen. So, yeah, I'm excited about a sequel to Vampire Assassin because I think I have some pretty fun ideas for Vampire Assassin too.
and the fan base for like Vampire Assassin just keeps growing because people
And
keep
man,
discovering this movie.
there's nobody more astonished than I am because I'm telling you, people talk. I think out of all my movies, Vampire Assassin is what people contact me about the most. And they contact me, say, hey, this is my favorite movie. I love this movie. There was a guy about 2 years ago that wanted me to go to France for some type of horror festival, whatever. And at that time, I just didn't want anything to do with Vampire Assassin. I was like, I don't want to, go and have people laugh at me at this film festival. But people really like it. I'm sure you're familiar. I don't know if you're familiar with Red Letter Media, but it's kind of like Vampire Assassin is like a running gag on their show. I think they were probably responsible for making it, making a lot of people wear Vampire Assassin. But people, you know what? And I must say, even when I look at the version that's out there, there are a lot of things in Vampire Assassin that are likable. I just think that what I believe is that the concept is really an interesting concept, but the execution just was lacking in terms of resources, and that was cut and blah blah blah. That people kind of like have this love-hate relationship with it. You got some people who can stand it and think it's the worst movie ever made, and you got some people who go, "Oh wow, I can see the potential of what you were trying to do with the super budget and like it in that manner." So like I said, I'm trying to honor both groups, meaning that this Vampire Assassin isn't the exact movie that if I had the resources would put out. However, I think it's close enough to what I want and far away enough from what the original is, and has a lot of the elements that the fan base today like about Vampire Assassin. I just think that it's going when people see it, I believe people will like it and it will give Vampire Assassin entirely different context and how it exists now. I'm very excited about that. Yeah.
Oh, oh man, uh, I mean, I'm definitely excited. I'm would definitely love to see it on the big screen or like even sort of like a thing where they will release a movie but they'll show it at like a bunch of different theaters like simultaneously, like a special showing or like what is it, like the event screenings that they do, like they'll do like at the movie theater they'll do like a day where they have like a showing of it, or something. I would love to see it on the big screen. That would be so cool.
Yeah, well,
um
we're working to make that happen. And you'll probably, what part of the country are you in?
I am in
Where
Michigan,
are you?
Lansing,
Michigan.
Michigan,
Okay, so yeah.
which
Okay.
is
All right.
actually Steven Seagal is from Lansing, Michigan.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool. Do you know Steven Seagal? Ever met him or?
No, I think he's from here. He was born here, but I don't think he ever came back. I don't.
Okay.
From what I've heard, he I know about him. I don't think he's ever came back to Lansing. But he is from
Okay.
here, so that's kind of cool.
Cool.
And I was also
All right. Cool.
one last thing I was going to ask you. Um, have you ever thought about
Sure.
doing comedy, more comedy? Because you're such a funny guy. Um, and you've done some a little bit of comedy.
Well, thank you.
Have you thought about doing
Yeah,
more
yeah. I mean, you
comedy?
know what? I mean, actually, sure, sure. Comedy is an element that I would like to introduce into the films. See, that's pretty funny, right? I'm talking about comedy. So he's calling me on the line, but let me Give me a second. Like it was, excuse me. Okay. Yeah, I have some projects that I like to do. For example, Kung Fu Brother is something that I would like to sequel of. And if I ever do a sequel to that, that will have more immediate comedic elements to that. So yeah, comedy is an element that I would like to explore. Sure.
Oh, right on, man. Well,
Yeah.
I definitely look forward to your documentary and your future projects and stuff. And I want to say thank you so much for doing this. This was such an honor. This was so cool to talk to you about some of my favorite movies, man. Thank you so much.
Well, Jeff, thank you very much for inviting me on your show. I'm glad to hear that some of these movies are some of your favorite movies. And, thank you for the opportunity to come on. And, I have a movie that I'm shooting right now called The Interceptor, which I call the Timu John Wick. It's basically about an assassin who stops other assassins from killing you. That's what I'm doing now. And that's a little bit more serious. This is not like a comedic. It's more kind of like a if John Wick and the Terminator were put together, kind of film. So, once I get finished with that, I'd love to come back on your show and we can talk about that. And I appreciate you inviting me on, and thank you for the opportunity. And yeah, and same thing to the audience. My name is Ron Hall, True Brother. You can find me on any of the general social media, and I'm there. And yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, man. I'll see you later.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. Thanks. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.